Hello everyone and welcome to another lecture in PHP and MySQL. In this lecture we'll learn how to use functions. So functions in PHP are very useful to store bits of code so we can reuse them later. They work very similar to the functions in JavaScript. So let's start with some simple examples. So the first thing let's create a PHP tag and let's save this file as on your htdocs file. So XAMPP htdocs, let's save this as function.php or functions. Okay, so whenever you create a function, make sure the name you use is not something that could be related or misinterpreted by PHP with other built-in function. So you know that in PHP we have several built-in functions that already come with PHP and you can use them, but we can create our own functions. Okay, so make sure you use unique names for your functions, something like my car. Okay, after the name of the function, you always type parentheses. Okay, and then curly brackets. Now, between the curly brackets is where you're going to put the code you want to store inside this function. So let me just type echo. You can type any code you want. My car is really cool. Let's save this. Now let's try to run this and nothing happens. Because in order to see something or run some code inside a function, you need to call that function. So how do we do that? Well, basically you just type the name of the function, which is my car and semicolon. And now if you refresh, there it is. Okay, so very simple and very easy to use and very handy to store a bunch of lines of code. This way you can store everything in one single name or a function name and call it whenever you want. Okay, now a function can also have arguments, just like in JavaScript. So in order to create arguments on a function, you just type, let's create, for example, 2 arguments on the function my car. So let's create 2 variables inside the parentheses. Argument 1 is going to be first, and let's create another argument called or stored in the variable second. Okay, and you can type as many arguments as you wish here. Let's create only 2 for now. They are called the variable first and variable second, or argument first and argument second. So now what we can do is basically use any of the parameters here inside the function. Let's use the first parameter here. My car is a Dodge, and let's say my first car was a Dodge and my second car was a Mercedes, something like that. Okay. So now, instead of the type of car, you just type here the variable. Okay. So we need to put this between, or concatenate this between dots here. Okay, and here let's create let's put the argument first. Okay, so my first car was a Dodge. We will use Dodge later, and here let's delete this, and here we're going to type second. Okay, so now you can basically give any value you want to these variables here, or arguments or parameters. Okay, just by typing, whenever you call the function, between the parentheses, you just type the value that you wish to give to those arguments. Okay, so I want to give the first argument. Remember, you always have to put this in order. Okay, so the first argument goes first, and then the second argument. So this will refer to this, and I'm going to call it here between double quotes the Dodge, and then Mercedes. Okay, so if you run this, there it is. My first car was a Dodge and my second car was a Mercedes. Okay, so basically what you can do here is give parameters that you can later store between the and then you can give any value to those arguments or variables when you call the function, okay, between the parentheses. There's also a very important and very common thing that we use in functions, which is return values with the return statement. Okay, and basically you're going to see a lot of functions that have a bunch of code, and then they have return and some variable that is defined inside the function. This is useful whenever you want to check if the function is working correctly and the script returns something, either a value, 1, 0, true or false. And you can even later on assign the function result to a variable. Okay, so this is very common to check if the function really returns you the value that you are expecting. This is also something that we will later on, with a little bit more of code, more complex stuff, we'll check, and it will make a little bit more sense to you. Okay, so this is all for now, and see you guys in the next lecture. Bye.